So I found this meme the other day. It says right here, knowledge is knowing that tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is not putting it in a fruit salad. Philosophy is wondering if that means ketchup is a smoothie. Uh, and this is just a joke that I've actually been thinking about a long time before I've seen the meme. And it's not necessarily the difference between knowledge, wisdom, and philosophy, but the difference between knowledge, wisdom, and maturity. Because I feel I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I still am thinking about it because even though I'm about to make a video on the differences, I still think there's a couple holes in my logical flow of what these differences are. And I just wanted to walk this through you. Maybe you guys, one of you guys might have an interesting idea that will help solidify what these working differences are. So, if I just want to introduce this topic, through something like easy and light. Imagine a 21-year-old and a 41-year-old, and they were both running a marathon. They're both athletes. They both run marathons before, but the 21-year-old being a lot younger, this is probably his second or third marathon, and the 41-year-old, well, he's been running his whole life. And so my question is, who would you bet on to run faster? On one hand, you have the 21-year-old who's like super young and is at probably the peak of his life, and he is he's young, he's 21, and then the other guy, the 41-year-old, is a lot older. But I think I'd actually put my money on the 41-year-old, and it comes around that when they're running and it's mile 23, they're like 3 miles left until the race is over. The 21-year-old might be feeling it. He might be like, oh, my legs are starting to hurt, I'm getting cramps on my calves. But the 41-year-old's like, I've been here before. I've been here before like 36 times. Like, I know how the marathons go, and he just has that maturity. He's more experienced, just plain and simple. There's a lot of different situations between like young and old, or experienced and non-experienced, where I kind of think that these three differences, knowledge, wisdom, and maturity, can come into play. So in my head, I kind of made this pyramid model. So you can kind of imagine, at the base of this pyramid, you have knowledge. And knowledge is just like knowing things, right? Knowing facts. And then on top of knowledge, you have wisdom. And I was like, okay, in order to have wisdom, you need knowledge to use. Like, I can't think of an example off my head, but you can't just have wisdom without knowing like the basic, facts to play with. It's like, facts are building blocks, and then wisdom is building the blocks together. And then maturity is kind of the third level. And maturity, I immediately thought of King Solomon, because he was, in the Bible says, King Solomon was the most wisest man who ever lived. So he had all this wisdom. And yet, he did a lot of stupid stuff. He had so many wives, he had so many concubines. And the Bible does not have a good record of him. He did do amazing things for the glory of God. He was also like, he got, if you know, he got a little bit too wise and then started philosophizing. Bro. Anyway, other than like his despair of realizing life is meaningless, he didn't do a lot of very good things. He did a lot of immature things, let's say. And so I kind of put this place where you can have knowledge, you can even be wise, but it takes another level to be mature. And so I actually took this idea to a friend of mine. She and I met at like this this like UTD convention thing, and then she just asked me like, bro, let's just like, let's just talk. She's a businesswoman. I guess she's really into connections. So we met up at a boba shop, and for some reason I thought it'd be a good idea to tell her my working model between the differences of wisdom, maturity, and knowledge. So I told her, and she had a couple problems with it. So we were in this like cafe shop, and she told me that her mom had recently opened her very own cafe, and I actually went to it a couple weeks later, and it was like actually amazing. After arguing about her expensive prices for a long time, she told me about how her mom actually made all the drinks on the menu. And she told me her mom had, you know, the knowledge to make the coffee, right? So that's like the first, that in my model, that's the first layer. And then she had the wisdom to know which coffees in which like how much sugar and which types of coffee to put in whatever drink to make a good drink. Um, and then I'm like, okay, cool. So yeah, you have that first layer of knowledge, and then that second layer of maturity, and then I would say, sorry, the second layer of wisdom, and then I'd say, you'd have that third layer of maturity of, you know, if you know something's not going to work, maturity is not putting that in the first place. But then she said, I kind of have a problem with that though, because she said that she feels that people who don't have knowledge can still be mature. So there were a couple people, applying to be a server at the cafe, and she said, for example, there were some young guys, like little like boys, like 14, 15, applying to be a barista. Is barista female? I I think it's for both genders. And he said, this person does not have a lot of knowledge on coffee, but also he doesn't have a lot of life knowledge. But she said, this boy can still be quote mature, and he can be mature in handling situations, and he can be mature in um, the way he carries himself in a cafe. And I said to that, well, the reason he's mature in handling situations because he has knowledge on how to handle other people, how to carry oneself in public, and he has a lot of experience with that. And as a result of knowing how to like read other people's emotions, carry oneself, having a lot of experience, like then he's reached that level of maturity in the skill of being mature. I think she wanted to put maturity and wisdom side by side, where instead of having knowledge at the base, one can grow individually in their maturity, and one can also grow individually in their wisdom. And on top of both layers was knowledge. And so, I mean, fair enough, someone can become more mature. Some people mature quickly. I wrote down like a couple of definitions of like knowledge, wisdom, and maturity. So, knowledge is mental access to truths. So, the plastic of this pen is polyester, or one of the main elements in glass is silicon. Well, is it? So yeah, it's silicon. That's mental access to truths. And then wisdom, I wrote, is the ability to apply and create with knowledge, as well as discern between ideas and concepts. So, again, like going back to King Solomon, that famous story about how he threatened to slice the baby. That's like discernment in law. He had knowledge on the law, and he also had knowledge about like the mothers will have genuine attachment to the baby, and then the wisdom was like being able to play with that. And so, I wanted to show you this really cool graph. It's called Bloom's taxonomy. You can see that there's like 6 levels to it. So it's again another pyramid, which is really funny. There's remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. So remember, and maybe even understand, it's being able to regurgitate or recognize truths, like how I said, I could put this on a flashcard, plastic pen, but maybe being able to analyze, like that green ring over here is saying, if I were to replace, the silicone in this glass with sulfur, would that actually have a lot of changes to the glass? And that's not something you can just memorize. That's just not like, yeah, there's knowledge to it, but being able to say what would happen, that's like some wisdom. That's like how, her mom was cooking up brand new coffee recipes that no one's ever even heard of. That's like creating something. And that's actually the highest level of this pyramid, like being able to use like all this information to create something brand new. Like according to Bloom's taxonomy, the highest level you can get to. But we don't actually see maturity on this Bloom's tax. At least I don't think so. You can think of Jurassic Park. These guys were creating dinosaurs again. Well, was it matured? Hell no, it was not, because as the movie plays out, bad things happen. But maturity is kind of almost removed from knowledge and wisdom, because like it's looking at, and this is actually leads into my definition. Maturity is looking at what you can do and saying, well, I shouldn't. I wrote, maturity is knowing that you can, but deciding you won't. It's willpower. And this is the point I want to drive home. That's actually, I think I'm actually cooking with this one. Maturity is the doing, the action. In a sense, King Solomon, in that story of telling the mothers about, he's going to slice the baby, he was mature in the sense that, he stood up from his throne and told them what he was going to do. And that maturity is like, it's the action. And so a very interesting idea I had, and that I realized, is that a lot of sin that people do in their lives, it just doesn't happen like you leave garbage out and then the flies come on its own and it starts stinking up. Actually, a lot of sin is very structured. It's very planned. It's very meticulous. It's very sneaky. It takes energy. Some things that harm, it takes energy. Of course, being lazy, like a sloth, or just deciding to eat junk food, like gluttony or whatever. I don't even know if gluttony is like a biblical sin, but anyway, it's not good. That doesn't take effort. But things like robbing a bank, that is like legit planning. Like you're gonna have to use knowledge and wisdom to rob a bank. But yeah, still it's wrong. It's not mature. That's just one of the interesting things I realized. And when you were deciding to be mature in an idea, it's, should I do this or not? Or on the willpower part that I mentioned earlier, should I be putting energy into something that I'm not willing to put in energy, but I should be putting energy into? Taking away energy from things that are pulling you, which are very enticing, and throwing yourself into situations or tasks that you don't want to be in, that you don't want to do. But either God is calling you there, or in order to achieve your goal, you're going to need to be in that position. And so I think that's like one of the things or distinctions between maturity and the other two words. I think that is a pretty solid idea to stand on. Listening to your parents, and this idea I think can actually be like applied in our own lives. So for any situation you can think of, like I wrote, like listening to your parents. Knowledge is knowing that whatever your parents are telling you is good. Oh yeah, I know they're telling me to eat my vegetables. I believe that is true, and so that's knowledge. Knowing that eating your vegetables is good. Wisdom is understanding why it's good. So then, you as a 7-year-old, like look up broccoli on Google and look up, oh, it's got iron or whatever, this is good for me. And then you don't need to go into like the biochemistry of it, but like, understanding that broccoli is good for you, like because it does this and this and this to your body. That's like wisdom. But then the maturity is it's just the simple act of obeying, putting it in your mouth, chewing it. You don't have to enjoy it, but you could like gag on it and then down it with water, but like be obeying. That's maturity. And I think it's not a very easy thing to do, obeying, but this is what God calls us to do. Children, obey your parents. But yeah, it's very interesting. I'm still thinking, and I bet I'll be thinking about these 3 words for a very long time. But it's just a very fascinating topic to me, and I just wanted to share with you guys. So let me know what you guys think about my mental models, or maybe even you have your own idea of how these things go. But in any case, thanks for watching. See ya.